As a real estate agent, you know that the industry can be tough to navigate, with constant challenges and obstacles to overcome. That's why we created the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast, where top-performing agents share their insights and strategies for success. Join us as we dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a thriving real estate business. Your host, Lindsay Favazza, will be your guide on this journey. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from the best in the business.
Welcome back to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of the most inspiring realtors in the business, uncovering their secrets to success so you can elevate your game. I'm your host, Lindsay Favazza, and today my guest will be Ryan Mirisola from Lamaki Realty. Ryan stands out in the real estate world for his unique approach to business. Unlike many who rely heavily on lead generation tactics, Ryan has mastered the art of leveraging his sphere of influence, proving that success in real estate isn't just about reaching out, but also about nurturing the relationships you already have. His all-sphere-based strategy has given him a strong start in the business and allowed him to do things the way he wants to do. Today, we're going to uncover how Ryan has built his business on the foundation of relationships, trust, and genuine connections. So, whether you're new to the game or a seasoned pro looking to switch up your strategy, you're in the right place to learn from one of the best. Let's dive in and discover how Ryan Mirisola crushes it in real estate. Welcome to the podcast today, Ryan.
Hey, Lindsay. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I am so excited to have you. We have a friend in the company who was joking about, us like really reaching down to pick you, but she's not on it. So there you go, Brittany. She's going to be so mad at us. All right. So Ryan, all that I said was true. You started out not in real estate, not even thinking that real estate was something that you would get into. So I want you to take the audience back. I want you to think back to when you first started or what you were doing before and take us down the path of how you got into real estate.
Yeah, sure. 2013, I was working at Stop & Shop in the deli. I'd been there for 8 years. For anyone that's ever worked in a supermarket, it's the bottom of the food chain, basically. You're working with the general public from start to finish, but not on the same level that I'm doing now. You're being told to slice cold cuts thinner, thicker, take some off the scale, put some on the scale.
Give me a taste. I'm sure they want to taste it.
It was really brutal. Oddly, I was good at it. Like, I had a certain amount of regulars that would just wait for me, even though, my coworker was doing nothing and could serve them. They'd say, no, we'll wait. And it was just the way, like, I know it sounds silly, but just the way that I took care of the cold cuts and laid them out nicely for them. Just something they appreciated. But I was in a bad place. I had dropped out of community college. I had no other skills outside of customer service. I basically was relegated to the fact that I'd probably be doing that for the rest of my life. But it was the people, the customers in there, enough of them came up to me and told me, you should be doing something else. Not only them, but obviously my parents, my brother, my close friends. I mean, over 8 years, I heard it consistently, but I just deep down never thought that I would be able to do anything else. So in my 8th year there, I remember to the day I Googled something to the effect of customer service-based careers that don't require a degree. And one of the things that popped up was real estate agent. And I had no clue. I mean, I know what they did, but I didn't know what that entailed. So I researched it. I said, this could be for me. I'm good with people. I'm personable. I feel I can relate to everyone. So I studied, I took the test, and I passed. But from there, I still had no plan. So I just joined the first brokerage that was near home. I had no idea that I should be interviewing. I thought I was on an interview. So I remember sweating through my shirt. I knew my broker could pick it up on me. And she told me what my split was going to be, which I won't mention on here. But basically, the company was taking more than I was, even on my own deals. But I didn't know any better. So I was like, am I hired? And she's like, oh yeah, you got it. You're in.
Because you're willing to take the lowest split ever.
Exactly. So she did offer me good advice. She said, you should keep your current job because you're not going to have anything coming in right away here. And I said, the hell with that. I want to leave there more than I want to get into this. So against her advice, I walked into Stop and Shop the next day and said, hey, I'm giving my 2 weeks notice 2 weeks ago. Peace. So I left there, joined that brokerage. And honestly, within 6 months, I had no sales coming in. I had no training. I was going in and just staring at the computer screen, hoping that something would happen. And I remember
your bank account's
I had the key to the office in my hand, and I was going to give it back to my broker. I was quitting. I wasn't just quitting the brokerage. I was quitting doing this. And I think I probably had no courage at the time. My broker was a pretty big hard ass, very strong, personality. And I just couldn't bring myself to go in and quit. So I never went into her office to quit. I remember going back home, telling my parents, telling my brother, like, I'm done. I can't do it. This isn't for me. And the three of them, they talked me out of making what would have been the biggest mistake of my life, because I listened to them. They said, what are you going to do? Go back to cutting cold cuts? You hated it. You'll hate it. You have to stick with it. And I listened to them. And then sure enough, a couple months later, my first sale came along. It was my brother's first house. And then got a few more sales after that, and finally started to realize, I can do this. It still wasn't easy for the first couple of years because, I didn't have the training or anything like that. So I think I did suffer for the first couple of years. And then a real shift came once I got to my current brokerage, Lamacchia Realty, and everything just took off from there.
How did you hear about Lamacchia and get in with that? Because, sometimes people do, I think, especially being so early in the business, they're at a brokerage and they're like, if I can't do it here, I can't do it anywhere. And that's your mindset. So what made you think, okay, if I switch brokerages, this might be the key to getting me to that next level?
Yeah, great question. So funny story. So my cousin, Jocelyn Malcasian, is one of the best realtors in the company and one of the best realtors in the area. And over the years, she did reach out to me. And I know I turned her down once or twice. I was just stubborn. I didn't know anything about it. I just figured it wasn't for me. And then in 2019, I remember seeing everything that she was posting, being friends with a couple other realtors at the company, seeing what they were posting, seeing the training, seeing the culture, and just thinking to myself, that looks like the major leagues of selling real estate. Like, if you want to do this full time, that's where you need to be, because it literally has everything that you could ever imagine. So I remember calling Jocelyn. I said, we need to meet. And within 5 minutes of sitting down with her, I was ready to sign. And I did, and never looked back.
She's pretty convincing, that one.
Yeah, she really is.
And she also, started at the beginning here, right? She, she didn't have a whole lot of experience, and she went in and sat with Anthony. So that's her whole story too. So she was coming from experience, telling you this is where you're going to grow. So that's awesome. So shout out to Joss for sure. All right. So you start at Lamacchia now. You have some experience. You have a few sales. So what happened at that point?
Sure. Not only just matched with the training and the marketing and all that, but at that point, because I only work by referral, I was about 4 or 5 years in at that point, and I was really starting to gain steam with not just, people hear sphere and they assume, your aunt, your uncle, and all that. But for me, it was more than that. And it was my number one goal has always been acquire the sphere of that one client. So right from the get-go, for me, I was never a salesy person. I didn't have that background. I didn't even know I was in sales, to be honest with you. But I would never just try to get that one deal in it. And I wanted to, because, with no money coming in, you really start to press, and you really, that one buyer, you need to make that into a paycheck. But for me, I couldn't bring myself to pushing someone towards doing something or being salesy at all. So my whole approach was always making sure whether or not they bought something with me or sold something with me, that they would actually be excited to give my name out. So by the time I got to Lamakia, just coincidentally, I had started to acquire the spheres of all these other clients that I was working with, to the point now where I don't need to worry about where my next deal is coming from, which is the goal. I mean, my numbers won't be as high as others, but it's in my business plan to, everything's off my split. I make sure that I actually like the people that I'm working with. I am picky, but I am at the point now, because of that approach, where I don't need to knock on doors or cold call or anything like that. I know business is coming. So yeah.
And if you wanted to, like, if all of a sudden your goals shifted to doing more, having more quantity than the quality, then like you had the opportunity to do that. You could door knock, you could do all those things. But I think it's an important message, and I want to make sure that I really emphasize this with our listeners, is the fact that, here's a guy who, he could sell 33 homes in a year. Easy. You could do that easy, right? If you were to, get on leads or to go to Zillow and buy lead, like all these different things that you could do to do that. But that's not where your goal is. Your goal is to have a sphere-based business, to feel happy and comfortable, to not be cold going into a relationship, but feel like they already know you. And that is your strategy. And even if you were to do 20 deals, you're totally happy with doing that, just in order to make sure that, you're doing the business the way you want to do it. And I want to make sure people understand that it's not always about the quantity of deals that you do, but it's about the quality, and that you feel like you're truly helping people.
Absolutely.
So I feel like that's 100%. A really great message.
Thank you.
So tell me how it is that you do these deals where that you're now going to have their sphere. Like, what is the trick there? Maybe you're working with like a friend, or you're working with a friend of a friend, right? It's worked already. Then how do you make it so that you're a part of that? They're going to want to spread your name all over the place.
Sure. It's honestly because my time is spent strictly with them, where my time was spent mostly trying to acquire new business. That friend of a friend that you're now working with has close to 100% of my attention, outside of the other clients I'm currently working with. As soon as they send me a text, a response comes right back. I have a lot of past clients that joke about how it never gets to the second ring. The phone call never gets to the second ring with me. It's always the first ring.
They're excited to answer the phone.
Exactly. This is a 24/7 thing for me. Sure, I have a social life, and I still involved in sports and things like that. But for the most part, they know they're going to get me when they need me. I will go the extra mile and do certain things for them, investigate certain things, and always pass along all information that I can. Like, instead of just sending a listing, I'll make sure I'm sending along, all the property disclosures, and certain things like that, just so they have a better feel. I hear a lot about when someone doesn't like working with their realtor, or they didn't like their experience with their realtor. The majority of the time, the overwhelming reason is because they felt like the realtor wasn't really doing much. And I never wanted that to be me. I wanted the opposite effect, to the point where, like I said, even if we're still looking at property 6 months later, that client is happy to get my name out. They're almost proud to get my name out. Like, I want my aunt to use this guy to sell the house. I know he'll do a good job, and people want the best for their own sphere. So yeah.
It's a little bit of a moving target, because all people are kind of different. So what matters to them is different. So how do you try to figure out with each person, like, what is going to be important? Or is your strategy, I'm going to do the basic things that are going to truly, like, I'm going to nail the basic things that are truly going to make a difference? Communication, transparency, doing the best for them, like those kind of things that you talked about. Or is there anything else that you do to kind of figure out what they like, what they need, and like how they kind of would best like you, I guess?
Yeah, sure. No, it's a great question. And yeah, I think it starts right off the bat with that first consult, really listening and I'm a big note taker, taking notes on what exactly they want, whether it's a buyer, where they want, what they want, on what kind of timeline, what's most important there. And with the seller, also there's things that they want. You know, certain sellers are more geared towards, you know, instead of, you know, maybe getting the most for the house, maybe getting a preferred, you know, timeline, things like that. Really trying to figure out from the get-go, not waiting until we're a couple weeks or a couple months in, but right from that initial consult, trying to figure out, okay, what exactly do they want, and how can I meet that for them?
Mm-hmm. And now, the other thing I want to mention, because I was thinking about it as we kind of got into the next topic, but going back a little bit,
Sure.
I also want to make it very clear that you're not doing 3 deals a year.
No.
You actually do a lot of quantity. So I want to make sure that I clarify that too, because I don't want people to be listening and being like, well, he's only doing like 4 deals. So of course they're really quality, right? So take us through the last few years, if you don't mind, and explain to us like how your business has changed and grown.
Yeah, sure. I think, so before I got to Lamakia, every single year I was almost doing like one more deal than the year before. So like I do 6 deals, and then I did 7 deals, and then maybe I did 9 deals. And then I got to Lamakia and I was already at 20, the first year that I got here. And then maybe like 27 deals. And then I did have, for the first time, I will say this, for the first time in 2023, was the first time in my career that I actually did less deals than the year before. But I knew why. You know, the market, the way it was and the way I do my business, I knew it was going to happen. I braced for it, and I still, because admittedly I don't have any goals for numbers or transactions. So I still, you know, towards the end of the year when things started to get really slow in the fall, I was still never pushing anyone, because what's happening now is all those people that I didn't push last year, they're all buying and selling with me this year. So all the money that was, I won't say lost, but all the money I didn't make last year,
it's transferred hopefully to this year.
Yeah, and then some. But that, again, that's just part of my business model. I can't say it's the right way or the wrong way. It's the me way. So
it's the you way, and I love that it's what you do, and that's great. And I love that you're thinking of it like that too, where it's like, okay, I had a down year, but the reality is that like that's real estate. Even the best agents, the top agents that have been doing this for 30 years, they have down years. Like there's no way to constantly increase every single year. There's going to be down years in the market and so on. So I think that's awesome. And you have such a healthy look on that. But yeah, I wanted to clarify where your actual deals were, because I wanted to make sure people knew that you weren't, you know, you're definitely still doing way more than most agents do. So it's very impressive. Okay. So I want to talk about social media a little bit, because we talk about the fact that you don't really do like lead gen, but you do use social media to kind of like extend that sphere connection. So how do you use social media, and what social media do you use, and how do you use it?
Yeah, great question. I get made fun of a lot from probably my closest friends in the company that I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on, you know, TikTok.
You're not TikToking? Yeah.
No, I've been on, and the funny thing is I was never on social media until I got into real estate. So I told myself that, hey, if you're going to do this, you need to at least start a Facebook. So I did that, and that's all I use. I hammer home my personal page, because that's where you're going to have, you know, your biggest following. I feel like I do well-timed posts that, you know, when people see me, you know, I don't post daily. I definitely don't post multiple times a day. But when I am posting, I think it sticks out. And I don't know if it's part of their algorithm or something like that. But when I do post something, it is a lot of real estate stuff, but it also is, you know, personal, social life stuff. My dog, friends, sports, things like that. But I don't muddle it, meaning I'm not posting, like I said, multiple times a day or posting random things. I like, if I'm going to post something, I like it for it to stand out. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's the way you treat your business. It's quality over quantity, which you have a very unique and specific personal brand. Like that's literally the way that you run life.
Right.
That's how you run your social media. And that's how you run your business. I think it
Right.
all matches up.
Right.
So what do you do to kind of extend and engage with your sphere on social? Because I know it's not just about what you post, but I know you have some tactics on like how you reach out to people and kind of,
Yeah,
are you
sure.
friending people right away when you kind of get introduced to them, or like how do you handle that?
No, I'm not seeking them out and sending them a friend request right away, but the clients and things of that nature that I'm friends with on there, past clients, current clients, I'm always commenting, I'm always liking. I hate to say it, but that is a big part of social media in general, is people like when others are liking, loving, and commenting on their post. It makes you feel good. And for someone that's like me, that's constantly doing that with people, I think it goes a long way, because they know that, I could be, I'm busy. I don't have to take out the time to wish someone a happy birthday every time their birthday pops up, and things of that nature. So I think it definitely goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's switch gears for just a second and let's talk about something crazy or some wild story that you've had in real estate, something that's happened that you're like, oh, this was memorable.
Yeah.
Tell us what you can tell us. Obviously,
Yeah. Oh no.
Details.
Yeah, it was definitely hands down the worst real estate experience of my life. I think I was 3 or 4 years into it, and I got a 3-family listing in South Boston. It was like 1.125 million. I got it by sending out a random mailer. My last name does resonate with certain people in Southie, because there's a Mirisola's restaurant that's family. So I just sent out a mailer just because of my last name. Honestly, I didn't think it would hit, and I did get a call. Of course, she was questioning me on my family tree, which you can ask my cousin Jocelyn, that I'm the absolute worst person to ask that about. So I'm going to my parents. I'm like, I got to study, like, tell me who my uncles and aunts are that I don't know about, because this lady, she's calling me now because of that name on the mailer, and she knows certain family members that I might not. So anyway, I scored the listing, and it was a 3-family. She owned it, but she was renting out all 3 units. And so I had to work with all 3 different sets of tenants in order to do the showings. And the 3rd floor tenant was a young girl that had a rescue dog. And I texted her the day before. I said, hey, is it okay if I show, the house tomorrow at 4:00 p.m.? She said, yep, absolutely. Just so you know, my dog is going to be in the 2nd bedroom. The door is going to be closed. Please don't open the door. So I said, okay, no problem. I showed up.
I'm picturing like Cujo behind the door.
Yeah, no, luckily not, but it was still bad. But so I met the agent and his 2 investor buyers there, and we go up to the 3rd floor, which is the unit that we're talking about. We go up to the 3rd floor, and we go inside the unit, and one of the buyers happens to open that door to the room that I wasn't supposed to open before I could. And like a bolt of lightning, the dog ran out of the bedroom. So I said, oh, well, hopefully at least the unit door behind us is closed. I turned around, that door is closed. So now the dog is bolting down the stairs. I said, okay, please God, let the door to the building be closed. And as soon as I got down the stairs, all I saw was daylight. That door was also open.
No.
There was no screen door. So that door was open, and the dog is now bolting outside the house. So, I mean, he honestly can't even make this stuff up. But anyway, I'm in dress slacks, dress shoes, shirt and tie, and I'm chasing after the dog. This dog is crossing busy streets. I thought for sure it was going to get hit.
Yeah.
It made it all the way to Castle Island. I'm still running in my dress shoes. It was like, I don't know, 50 to 100 yards ahead of me most of the time. I did lose track of it once I got to Castle Island, and people were trying to they knew I was chasing after the dog because they saw the dog. And they were like pointing, like, it's down there, it's down there. Eventually, the dog was stopped by 3 or 4 people that were on Castle Island just walking, and they stopped the dog, and eventually I caught up to it, luckily. And they said, "Is this your dog?" I said, "No, I'm an agent. I was showing the house and the dog ran away." So one of the girls was lucky enough I was lucky enough for one of the girls said, I will take you and the dog back to the house. However, one of the crazier things, as I'm chasing the dog, the two buyers and their agent actually jumped in their car, and they were driving alongside the beach where I was running. And they called me asking me if, hey, do you want to jump in? Like, we'll help you. And they were actually nice enough. They knew that I needed to get that dog. I said, don't worry about it. I'll get it. And they took off. And the craziest thing, I guess as I was running, I had butt dialed my dad. My dad knew that I was showing a property in South Boston that day. And all my dad heard was me running, puffing and puffing. My dad was doing grocery shopping. He was trying to say, Ryan, what's going on? And didn't get a response from me because my phone was in my pocket. He left his carriage there full of groceries, went to pick up my mom, and they started driving to South Boston because they thought I was being chased, basically.
Yeah, they thought you were in trouble.
Yeah, so once I got in that girl's car, I called my dad. I said, everything's fine. I didn't even know I called you. And they said, oh, thank God, we were coming to see if you were okay. So eventually I got the dog back inside the house. The tenant was so thankful. I thought she was going to be mad as hell. And she said, honestly, I don't think many people would have done what you did.
Absolutely not.
They would have just chalked it up as this dog is lost. Or
they would have panicked. They just would have panicked. They would have called like animal control or like, you know what I mean? But like you really were like, I'm getting that freaking dog back. It's the last thing I do.
It was absolutely terrible.
Oh no. So I'm going to guess that every door closes behind you now.
100%. That scarred me for life, honestly.
Oh my God. I'm so glad it all worked out. I was like, please don't tell me anything bad. I was like, I'm going to regret asking this question if something happens to this freaking dog.
No, it all worked out.
Good. Well, I'm glad. And I think I love asking that because number one, it's like usually a crazy thing that we get to hear. But also I love to make sure that agents know that like, it's not just you when something crazy happens on your day. Cause like it's going to happen. If it hasn't happened yet, you're going to get something crazy. So that's amazing. So what's next for you, Ryan? What is on the horizon? I know, like you said, you don't really like do things by, this is how many deals I want to get to. So like, how do you, what is the next step for you? What is it that you're focused on? And what's next?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I have about 18 to 24 months of a backlog of clients that should have made their move already. They haven't, and they all seem to be making it very soon.
All at the same time. Yeah.
And they're all sell buys. And this is the thing, when you're in it for this long, you could survive this long, and you do things the way I'm doing it for this long. Your business is now mostly sell by because you sold that condo 7 years ago, and because they loved you, you're listing it. Okay. Think of all the people that within those 7 years that they've come across that are agents, no other agents, and they have to put them off and say, no, I'm going to use the guy that sold me this place.
So wait, how do you do that though? What do you do in between the 7 years that you've sold that house and then now them wanting to call you again? Because there's a lot of agents who do a great job for their clients and they don't think of them again. They go with the person that was most recently in their face, So what do you do?
So I mean, a couple of things for me, it sounds corny, but I always stick with my sports calendar magnets, Patriots, Red Sox, the two big ones. I mean, I've sent them out religiously to the point where I have certain people that reach out. They think, if I'm running late on them, they don't get them when they usually get them. They reach out and say, hey, I'm just hoping I'm getting my calendar this year. So they actually look forward to it. And I'm big on the holidays with my clients. I will say, like, because I don't spend a ton of money marketing to acquire new business, I am spending the bulk of my money on my current and past clients. And that, Thanksgiving, we have an awesome, program where we buy the Thanksgiving pies. And I definitely buy as many as possible and hand them out, a couple days before Thanksgiving. And then I'm huge on Christmas. I'm a big Christmas guy. I'll make up, I'll make up basically gift baskets with mini bottles of champagne and mini bottles of orange juice and maybe a scratch ticket and some chocolates, and I'll drop them off. And I love it. It takes me 2 days to do it. I was actually sick this year. I've been sick 3 times in the past 3 months. So I didn't get to do it around Christmas this time, which kind of hurt me. But every other year I've done something like that, and it goes a long way.
It goes a long way. And it goes to show that that's why they're calling you back, because you take that extra time to really think of them. And then anytime you're doing those things and you're driving around, you're getting more FaceTime with them. So it helps them to remember you. So
absolutely.
That's awesome. Ryan, this has been an absolute joy. And I knew it would be, because I know you pretty well now, but it was even more than I expected. So I think,
awesome.
People are going to get a lot from this, and I really appreciate you sharing everything. Is there any last advice that you'd like to give to someone who's listening today that heard your story, that wants to do things the way you do it? What advice would you give to them?
Sure. Especially to the newer agents out there, my advice would be stick with it, because if you can have minimal success right now in this market and you can enjoy it the least bit, you need to stick with it, because what's happening now isn't the way that real estate was meant to be done. When you get a buyer, they should be able to shop around and find a home that they love and buy it, instead of the cutthroat competition. So you have to stick with it. You have to know that this isn't normal. This is going to turn around. And if you feel like this is for you, you have to do everything in your power to just stick with it. Shadow, whether it's me or other experienced agents, because if you're not getting the experience with your own clients, you can get it by following along on someone else's deal, at least to see how it goes. And that'll give you more confidence as you're meeting clients of your own. So yeah, just stick with it.
I love it. Ryan, again, thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. And Brittany, take that. She's gonna be so mad at us.
I know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for listening, for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on the podcast, on the bottom right there. And I always screw this up. Nope. I always screw this up. On the bottom right there, you'll see all of the, at symbols for Ryan. I actually, because he's only on Facebook, we have his personal and his business page, but
Beautiful.
Really just follow his personal page, because that's where you'll find him. And I'm sure he'll follow you back. You can ask him any questions that you have. We'll put those 2 links in our show notes as well. And again, thank you so much, Ryan. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay true to who you are, because you're crushing it in real estate.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode of The Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate. Have a great one.
Thank you for tuning in to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with your friends and colleagues, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you're interested in being a guest, email us at info@crushitnre.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to crush it in real estate.